Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, we're talking about insecurities in relationships. Notice, I pluralized it. Insecurities in relationships, and some people have many. I have been talking to some people offline in relationships as well as out of relationships, recently broken up individuals. Their spirits, of course, are very downcast. They are upset. They are bitter. Some of them are angry and others are borderline depressed. For some people, it's been some time since the breakup and they are on that slow climb back up again. But the common denominator in all of these conversations has been the insecurities that had arisen while being in the intimate relationships. There was the questioning that took place. Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? Or no questioning at all, but simply assuming things. Okay. The mind is telling them this is what is going on with your partner, and the person doesn't know how to communicate or doesn't want to communicate their concern because they know it's going to lead to a dispute. Okay. So the insecurities of where you were, what were you doing, and who were you doing it with, and all this other stuff tends to arise when one has said something, done something, did not explain some things to a partner, has been acting quite distant. Who is she? Who is he? Okay. And for some individuals, when we talked about this, you could see the anger in their eyes, especially for those who were not guilty. Now, there were those who were guilty, but had broken off the little fling. But you know, what's in darkness eventually comes out into the light. So even though the little fling, I was just in a bad mood, or I just wanted to pay her back, my woman, so I went off and slept with another woman, but that was like 15 months ago or 20 some months ago, and she just found out, and now she tripping on me because I am, holding on to some pictures, or I've got some old emails or whatever. Okay. But when this insecurity arises, there's also this mirror that's held up. And if you're a Christian going through, you start to see some things about yourself. You start to see why you attract who you attract. You start to feel some kind of way about some folks. You find out that you were running away from the last relationship, and this person is nothing more than the rebound. Some people remained rebounds for 5, 10, 20 plus years and thought that at some point they were going to be the number one. They were going to be that ride or die. They were going to be that main chick, okay, or that main man. And instead, they got nothing more than the back seat. Okay. And people get tired of being in the back seat. People get tired of being pushed off, set aside, and no, I'm not going through anything. I'm fine. I'm okay. But then you're still treating somebody in a way that is disrespectful. It's not loving. It's not sweet. It's not kind. It's not acknowledging their presence. And so people will move on. Okay. They'll first move on emotionally, as some of you all already did. They will move on physically, taking on a separate room or moving out of the home. They will, in between that, will move on, sexually. So there's the partner that they're considering on sleeping with, or they've already slept with. They may have some regrets or some guilt about it, so they'll try to work it out with the current partner. But when your mind and your body is somewhere else, it just never works. And so then you have to face the music. Well, that partner who's not in the know, the insecurity is going to rise up in him or her because they suspect. They're not in the know about where you are, unless, of course, you've given some clear signs and you've also communicated some things. So they're guessing. They're in limbo somewhere. They're trying to figure some things out with you. And when people get tired of trying to figure some things out, they become angry. Okay. They become jealous. They don't know from one day to the next where you stand with them. This is why you have to make your partner feel secure if you want that relationship to grow, if you want that relationship to heal, if you want that relationship to remain where it is, in a positive light, of course, and not in a negative light. You've got to communicate and let he or she know how much you love them, how much you appreciate them, how you don't want the relationship to break up, how you will do your part to make life a little bit easier, because life is hard. Okay. It's hard at times. You have those moments where unemployment shows up, death shows up, children are sick, bills are due. And so you got all these things that you're dealing with. The last thing you need to deal with, right, is the insecure, crazy making, jealous, angry, violent type of partner. But the person who doesn't want to take responsibility for aiding in those emotions is the one who makes things even harder than what they really are. I'm not taking responsibility for her mood swings. I'm not going to take responsibility for every time when I go out, he's tripping. I'm not going to. Well, if you're not going to nurture a relationship, you don't have the patience to talk things out. You don't want to be proactive and have date nights and go places with your partner. It's best to be by yourself. And I have an audio message about those who are not called to be married, those who are not called to have children. And believe it or not, it is so true. God knows that there's some inner work that needs to take place with some people, as well as outer work. He knows that there's some people who still very much attached to their exes, even though they may never ever say it. There are those individuals who are still attached to their mothers and their fathers and their sisters and their brothers and all these other people. And so when these people got all of these emotional attachments to everyone but the partner, God will set it up where there is distance. And the distance will happen rapidly in relationships where there's violence and where there's emotional abuse, if the person is willing to stop being the victim. And some people are not willing to do that. They are comfortable being the slave, being the victim, being the damsel in distress, being the mama's boy in the relationship and hoping that one day she'll be like mama. Some people are okay and all right with it until the arguments increase, until the questions increase, until someone starts threatening that they're going to do this, that, and the other. Okay, now it's uncomfortable around here because I'm not getting my way. You see, as long as the man is putting money in a woman's pocket and making her feel special, she's all right. She's okay. She's good. But the day the man says, oh, I got something else I need to use this money for. And oh, yeah, by the way, you're looking a bit fat these days. And I mean, you need to do this, that, and the other. He's breaking her spirit and breaking her bank, especially when he knows that she don't make that much money. So he's breaking her down, and then he wants her to still be respectful. He still wants this and that from her. She's going to eventually say, no, I'm not going to be there for you. I don't want to hear your conversation. I don't want to be in the bed with you sexually. I don't want anything to do with you. Okay. And this is what has happened with some of you all. And you feel better now because you've felt or you saw or you heard or you witnessed some things and you said, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm so done with this. I don't want my spirit broken by a man or by a woman. God didn't put me on this planet to be broken down. God didn't put me on this planet to take this person's emotional and or physical abuse. I am not going to be the tail, but I'm going to be the head. There's victory. There's victory in walking with the one true God. And some of you all, that's where your peace is. You knew that you had to get your spirit up in order to tackle everything else. And this is why in these messages, I'm always directing people back to God, even though for some, oh, that's just such a simple piece of advice. I mean, really, you need to give them something more than that. No, I'm giving you just what I know to be true, just what I know has helped me over the years, as well as many, many, many other people. The spirit must be uplifted in order to conquer those relational issues. If I am trying to deal with a man who's troubled in his mind, I cannot allow my spirit to be so low to the point where anything and everything that comes out of that man's mouth is going to break me. No, I uplift my spirit so that I can be able to deal with the challenges. Some of you all, you have been in these relationships for far too long. God has even used people, places, signs, wonders, miracles, you name it, to tell you it is time. But you want to keep fighting with folks. You want to keep planning makeup to break up. And yes, we're working things out only to find out that there's some more skeletons in the closet. And when you ask them, is there anything else? Is there anything else I need to know about? They're either mum about it, they lie about it, they cover it up, or they say no. And sometimes no is honest. Sometimes no for some folks is dishonest. Once again, we got so many things that we're dealing with in this world. And then to have these types of battles with people who are ungodly, because 9 times out of 10, a person who's sending you to hell and back, that person is most likely a child of darkness. He or she was never meant for you. You may have never been meant for him or her if you're sending them, to hell and back while you're doing your dirt. And so there's no sense in wasting people's time. I've said this in past audio years back. There's no sense in wasting people's time. When you know that a person just is not meshing with you, it is time to move on. And so what happens is that you go to the Lord first and foremost as a believer, and you speak to him about what your troubles are. Then you're going to want to talk with some people at the church or a counselor who's familiar with your particular relationship issues and get some insight as to how you can heal mentally as well as physically. And then, of course, you're going to want to make necessary arrangements to get up out of that toxic setting with that individual, because the longer you stay, the more likely it's going to be more drama, more questions, more fights, more threats, more whatever. And some people are so burnt out with it all. Okay. And I validate you. It's okay to be burnt out, fed up. I got to get away. Take some vacation days away from work. Take some, time to sort some things out in your mind away from the problems, okay, that are in your household. Okay. This way, when you do this sort of thing, then you can be able to have a clear perspective on what your next move is. Now, these individuals that I spoke to, what I also noticed was that there was this, tie that they still had to some past issues. And their past issues were also affecting their current relationships as well as their just healing process now that they were out of their toxic relationship. So the childhood woes definitely needed to be addressed. Some people don't want to do that because that was 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. I don't want to, but the thing is that if you don't address them, then what happens is you carry them into the next relationship. So if there was this disconnect with dad, disconnect with mom, you recognize that there's the disconnect. You may have gotten some inner work done, but there were still some things that needed to be uncovered before you met that person who ended up being a problem in your life. Now you're back in that season of quiet and peace alone to explore those areas that you really didn't want to explore because, well, they're hurtful and I don't want to rehash the past and blah, blah, blah. But no, you didn't heal from them. And so the arguing that took place in that crazy making relationship that you had with someone, if you think back, mom and dad had similar arguments. If you think back, there was the name calling and the abuse that one or both endured, and then you ended up doing similar things in your relationship. There was the man who left the woman, the father who left the woman It could have been a mistress, could have been his wife, what have you. And so there's the abandonment issues, the rejection. Dad made promises he was going to come see you. He didn't. You're hoping that the man that you're with, you were hoping that the man that you were with was going to be there for you. And you told him about your daddy woes and what have you, basically trying to turn that man into your daddy. Okay. And some women do that. And then you have some guys who they're younger and their mothers were busy cooking, cleaning, taking care of household, or some mothers were running after this man and that man because of their daddy issues. And so they were not attentive to their children. So you have this young man who sees an older woman. The older woman shows him the attention, the affection, and so much more that his mother didn't. And so he gravitates to her. And she fulfills some mommy issues. Okay. This is why some mothers, if they think real deeply, they don't like when their sons get involved with older women, because that shows where oftentimes they drop the ball. Okay. And so the older woman is buying the young man. And this happened in my family. I saw this with one particular cousin. The older woman was there when his mother had rejected the family, had went off and started a new family with a new man. Okay. And so he had some mommy issues, and his mommy issue was that he wanted his mother's attention, her love, all of that good stuff. And he didn't get it. And so along comes this older woman who took up some time, opened up her doors to him, and basically used him to clean and cook and babysit. And then the two ended up having a baby. And him being young, he wasn't ready for a child. So he basically did what his mother did. He left and started up a family with somebody else, you see. So if we don't connect the dots in terms of how we grew up affected our choices and who we got involved with and what we wanted out of a relationship, we only repeat with someone else the same old, same old. Some men have gone down this path for so long and have a long track record of so many different relationships that they have thrown their hands up and said no more. I've had people in my family who simply said, no more for me. Don't you want to date? Absolutely not. I'm so done with dating. Don't you want to get married again? No way. No way. Don't want to do it. Why? You should. And no, I shouldn't. Some people know themselves. And so they decided that no, marriage, children, dating, all that was not for them. And they actually are happier than they were when they had all of that. Okay. So this idea of thinking that it's okay, it's all right to do some things just because other people tell you or because you saw the movies and all the other brainwashing that goes on. No, thank you. For some people, that is just not good for them. And they know it's not good. It's not a good look for them either. So the insecurities arise because somebody may pick up on the fact that you just don't have your head in a relationship. Your head is somewhere else. Okay. Doesn't mean you cheated. Doesn't mean that you were, lying and doing all sorts of dirt. You simply don't have your head in a relationship. And relationships break up all the time because you're not present. You're not there. You're not active. Your mind is floating off in some other land somewhere. It's a fantasy world of sorts. And I can't deal with your mind being somewhere else. Your mind needs to be here, grounded. Sometimes fantasy world is off in religion somewhere. Fantasy world is off doing heavy meditation and calling on all sorts of gods for some people. Fantasy world could be hoping and wishing that you were with someone and not this person. And so you create this person in your mind that is so much better looking, has more money, has a lot going on. And then you look at your partner and you're disappointed in your choice. Fantasy world could be simply watching all sorts of television shows that glorify these relationships that seem to be so perfect and so right. And if only my relationship was like that. And so the woman, she's out there watching her soap operas and these dramas, and she's wishing that she had a man that would complete her. Okay. And so when this stuff is going on, the person who's witnessing the distance or the disconnect or the disassociation wants to draw you back. Hello, remember me? Remember we used to go out on dates? And so they create the date night, hoping that's going to help. They try to draw you back in by buying you gifts, hoping that you will just appreciate all of what they're doing for you. They try to draw you back in by talking to you about things that they believe you're very concerned about, like children. They try to draw you in by inviting you to different events. Let's go here, let's go there, take you back to the old place where you met, things like that. And it's to no avail, because if you've been in fantasy world for a long time before they picked up on it, there is no bringing you out. I want to be somewhere other than with you. I want to be out there pursuing my hobbies, my interests. I stopped all my hobbies and interests when you came into my life. There is this brainwashing, if you will, that takes place with some people who are determined to stay in a relationship with you. It's kind of like a cult brainwashing, where they tell you everything that is wrong with everyone else on the outside. And so if you distance yourself from your family members, your friends, and so forth, then they have control. Then, of course, they're going to build up this beautiful little environment for you, one that you may not have even thought about. And so you're living in this environment and there's nothing really familiar. And so you've got to learn how to adjust. Because if there were some familiar things, then you probably want to go back to the way things were before you met this person, when you were independent, when you had your own hobbies and interests, when you were connecting with your family members and friends. Okay. Notice cult-like brainwashing, even in an intimate relationship. And so you are dedicated to your leader in this relationship. You're dedicated to him or to her. And so when they start straying away or doing something that's unorthodox from their cult brainwashing that they gave you, that raises an insecurity in you. Levels of anxiety start to increase. Wait a minute, you're not following the handbook. Isn't it me and you against the world? But why are you over there? And it seems like you're, siding with this one and being all buddy with that one. And yet you told me these things about these people and how you wanted me to be your all in all, be your ride or die. But it looks like you got how many male friends or female friends, you see? And so that insecurity arises because the cult-like brainwashing that took place in the relationship, you see that the leader is breaking all the rules. And so jealousy and everything else sets in. I'm talking to somebody, I'm hitting the nail on the head. You were basically in a cult with your partner. Okay. And so you have all of these little catchphrases and little things that you say between each other, and then you start hearing them elsewhere, and you're like, wait a minute. Okay, what's going on here? Somebody's breaking code. Because I'm supposed to be number one in the front seat. I'm supposed to be, that one, his queen, or I'm supposed to be her king. What's up? Okay, there goes that insecurity. If the cult like brainwashing that happened within the relationship just totally took away everything, and you didn't have anything that you protected for you. It took away your money, took away your mind, took away your time, took away everything, and you didn't store anything away for you. You could very well fall apart if that person was to come to you and break up with you, because you gave them way too much. And this is why some people end up being so depressed and want to commit suicide, because they never ever had anything within them that they protected that was their lifeline in the event that the relationship broke up. Some of you all right now, in the name of Jesus, you need a lifeline. You need a lifeline that you have created for yourself before you enter into any other relationship. Because if you don't, you're going to go right down that pathway of suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideations, and you don't want that. Some part of yourself should be reserved for just you. This is where my hobbies are. This is who I am independently. This is the strength that I have to use to get up out of any situation, whether it's intimate, whether it's business related, whatever, where I am not going to emotionally or physically break down. This is what I draw on. And for some people, of course, being believers, they draw on the Spirit of God. They receive the Spirit of God when they accepted his son, Jesus, who died on the cross for them. And that is what sustains some people. How did she get up out of that relationship? I know she was just head over heels in love with that man. There was some part of her being that was reserved for just her and her maker. And that is what was her lifeline to get her up out of that relationship when she realized that he wasn't all that he claimed to be. Okay? When an individual has seen the truth for what it is concerning this so-called beautiful soul, wonderful light, my lovely whoever, my wonderful, when you've seen the light and that light shines some very dark, ugly stuff on that person. Let's say you're that one that hasn't broken up yet. Don't let insecurity and jealousy rise up in you. Instead, what you have to do is allow your discernment that God has given you to strengthen you to take the necessary measures to make a decision. Make a decision. Do I want to be in this relationship or not? You don't need a complicated expose, documentary, an outline, a room full of 5 people to figure out whether or not this relationship is building you up or breaking you down. Okay? When a bunch of insecurity arises within any of us, that means that there is a red flag, if you will, that something isn't right. I am not going to allow what I've learned to break me down mentally, physically, and spiritually. I'm not. I found out some things over the years with every single person that I have been involved with intimately. The type of information that would always send me into a fit of tears. And you know what? After those tears dried up, I simply allowed myself to be myself. You see what I mean? No more, it's me and you. It's just me now. Some people say, "Oh, that's selfish." Yeah, you got to look out for self. When somebody has hurt you, when somebody has lied, when somebody has hidden stuff, covered up, denied, went here, went there, you've got to be that one. In Jesus' mighty name. You've got to be that one to take control over you. We know cult leaders, they control people, right? Their plan is to get as many people to follow them as possible and to get their selfish needs met. Okay? Well, that cult-like leader of a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, what have you, they pulled you in to get their needs met. Now it's time for you to get your needs met. Okay? They saw something in you, or you may have been that one that saw something in that person, and you got what you got. But when you do dirty things, when you do ugly, unrighteous, unlawful, what have you types of things in a relationship, you will reap what you have sown. And so for some of you all, you were the victim. And so now that one who has hurt you has to pay the price. And they're going to pay the price when you pull back the finances. They're going to pay the price when you pull back the attention, when you pull back the intimacy, when you start making necessary arrangements to leave them. They will see the truth for what it is. She don't love me anymore, or he don't want to be with me anymore. Exactly. Because enough is enough. How long is a person going to keep taking abuse from another person? I mean, even dogs get tired of being kicked. And some individuals have even abused their animals. And that was a red flag sign then, not to be involved with a person who would hurt an animal. But some people, they dismiss the warning signs early on. The warning signs when he had all those female friends. I remember an individual had a bunch of female friends, but he picked me, so I'm going to be okay and all right. And he picked all those other ones too, because later on I found out those were friends with benefits. Those were his ex-lovers. They weren't just friends. You see, there was an individual who I had these insecurities that was creeping up within me, and I didn't even know why. He hadn't done anything as far as I could see, but in time I learned that he had another life where he enjoyed using drugs. Okay. And he had a buddy that he used to enjoy using those drugs with. And he knew that I wasn't a drug user, so he had to hide that part of him. There was an individual who I met. He was an older gentleman. At that time, I was 21. He was 41. Okay. Big age difference. And he had been so sweet, so nice. The type of individual, very gentlemanlike, had some manners, mature, okay, a dream. But he had a dark side to him. One day he decided to show up, and he was drunk. He enjoyed having his drinks until he got deliriously drunk, okay? People have those sides to them, the sides you can tolerate, the sides that you can't tolerate. And when people do things under the influence, that's when they also make a lot of mistakes. And then they want you to forgive and they want you to forget. And then they get caught up again in all of their getting high. And then they want you to forgive and all of that. And after a while, forgiveness, it's a beautiful thing when it's at a distance and you're not caught up in the hurt. So yes, I forgive you because you were doing this, that, and the other. I told him, but I can't be in a relationship with you. Please don't come back around. And I drew the line in the sand back then. And I was only 21. So if I was 21 and could draw that line in the sand, and I know some of you all are a lot older than 21, I know you can do it too. So when you have those emotions that show up within you, you take control over those emotions. You don't allow emotions to drive you into making decisions, especially decisions that you might regret or decisions that you're not ready to go through with. Instead, you're going to take a moment to breathe in and out, calm yourself down, and you're going to think about all of what God has blessed you with. You're going to think about the positive. You're going to think about the beautiful things, the things that you have seen in this life that just made you feel so special, so just at peace. And you're going to allow the Lord to lead you toward all that is righteous and true in your conversation, in the way you do things around your home, where you go, what you do. You're going to allow the Lord to lead. And as God leads you, you're going to notice some things about yourself. And you're also going to notice some things about that individual. And then you're going to eventually come to a decision on whether or not that's a person you should keep around in your life. That's for the one who's still in the relationship. The person who's out of the relationship, your job is much easier because you're working on you. Okay. You're working on just you. You don't have to consider whether or not this person is, good for you and whether or not you should continue your relationship and all that. You've already been through that process and you're out of it. So your inner work is about you, and you're taking a moment each and every day to breathe, relax, okay? Become centered. And then, of course, read your word and find out what it is that God wants to share with you in the spiritual realm. Your focus isn't on the man that you broke up with or the woman. Your focus isn't on what mama and daddy and cousins and everybody else think. You are walking with the one true God, picturing yourself walking on a beach, if you will, and the skies are beautiful and you are just enjoying the moment. You're being in the moment of peace, of quiet, of no type of responsibility whatsoever other than just walking across that beach in your mind, you see. And as you're doing this sort of thing, just clearing your mind out a bit from all of the past and the ugly stuff, you are ushering your mind into the future where it's brighter. Yes, you'll have those moments where you're going to do the inner work, where you're going to think about that connection of the past and how it impacted your present and how you don't want it to impact your future. But at the same time, you are also feeling uplifted mentally, physically, and spiritually through those peaceful, quiet, meditative moments that you have with self. And for those of you all, you know, it's nothing but God using me to say this to you. I'd had no intention of going there in terms of giving you, that meditative type of speech. But it is what it is, because some people, that's all they're looking for right now. They're not looking for too much of anything but peace. So thank you, Lord Jesus, for moments like these. And I just pray for those individuals who are still going through much. May the Lord be with you. May his angels of protection be all around you. May you move forward in your quest of being free from a toxic connection in Jesus' mighty name. Well, that is it for this message. Blessings to you. Please do check the description box for anything of interest. If you have been so moved to give, you can do that. There are different ways to give in the description box as well. Like, subscribe, comment, and blessings to you.